I'm very professional.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Gotro, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jasis. He is my friend and my colleague in elementary bilingual education. And today he's going to share with us wonderful information about working with migrant families and about a grant that he's currently working on. So welcome, Dr. Jasis.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Dr. Gotro. And I'm so happy to be here. It's wonderful and working with you and hopefully sharing the message about migrant education and about some of the efforts that we have at Cal State Fullerton to address an educational need. I think it would be a great opportunity to share information about what we call our invisible neighbors. The community that makes it possible for us to have the vision that we have today, and how we can support this hardworking Californian community. Thank you for the invitation. Okay, well, I wanted to share with you, with all of us, an opportunity to have some insights about the agricultural community. I'm going to start a little bit formal, but please don't take it too seriously. I am very informal. But I wanted to make sure that I don't miss any opportunity for information, and I can cover as much as possible within the time that we have allotted for us. So let me start with something very formal. California is an agricultural powerhouse, which we already know, and with over $46 billion yearly in agricultural business, has historically been the breadbasket of the nation. It also exports agricultural products to every corner of the globe, which brings enormous vitality to the state's economy and significant profits to its agricultural industry. And when we talk about Southern California, generally, we are thinking about the entertainment industry, we are thinking about high tech, we are thinking about the vibrant construction community. But in fact, agriculture is still one of the mainstays economically of California. And as you know, our state is the sixth economy of the world. And last year only, agriculture produced $54 billion in businesses for ranchers and with agricultural companies. And let me tell you that, however, the life of farm workers and their families has never been booming as much as the industry. They help sustain with their efforts and their labor. Typically, a California farm worker earns well under the national poverty level, laboring long hours under harsh working conditions, with scant or non-existent opportunities for education or alternative work training. And we're going to talk a little more in detail about the conditions, as I have put together a slideshow that will be a little more detailed and focused about what an agricultural worker's life is like. Let's see, their children particularly are seriously impacted by those economic conditions. And they often lag behind their peers academically. To address the situation, the Migrant Education Program, MEP, offers educational opportunities for the children of migrant farm workers. Additionally, programs such as our own high school education program, HEP, at Cal State Fullerton, strive to provide instructional support services to adult farm workers and their dependents. This presentation will provide basic information about education with migrant farm workers, as well as about our Cal State effort at Fullerton with our HEP program, including opportunities to volunteer in these meaningful, life-changing educational initiatives. So let me quickly point out some ideas about what the lives of a farm worker in California really is every day. So there are physical hazards, and we explained earlier. Migrant workers have one of the most labor-intensive, physically demanding, and often grossly undercompensated occupation in the country. They also suffer from isolation from other communities and from their own community. Even within the Latino community, farm workers are a particular segment that is often different than the rest in terms of earnings, in terms of opportunities for development. So it is important to understand the status of the farm worker community to understand better their needs and their strengths, which are many. Migrant families tend to live in isolation from communities where they work. Because often, as we see, and this reminds me of a bit of an anecdote. Some years ago, many of you might remember that we used to have a satellite campus at State Fullerton in the El Toro base, the old El Toro base, which is in southern Orange County. And as you drive towards the campus there, you go through miles and miles of agriculture. And I remember asking my students, my undergrad students, that they had ever seen a farm worker. And most of them, except for two of them, had said that they really had no contact. They had never seen one. And then I reminded them, I told them, listen, next time when I see you, please, as you drive towards the satellite campus, please look at your sides and you're going to see these little figures at a distance, many, many of them, that are working on the crops, families, and you realize those are the farm workers that we're talking about. That's why we call them sometimes the invisible neighbors, because even though they might be among very wealthy communities, they themselves live in other places, usually in migrant camps, and they don't enjoy the fruits of that labor in any way. So it's not uncommon for, they also suffer from family separation. It's not uncommon for parents and children to be separated if parents want the children to finish the school year, in the same school where they move or to the next work site. So it's very common for children of farm workers to have to change schools very often, which create a lot of dislocations and problems, educational problems for them. Migrant children experience more acute poverty, health problems, health hazards, social alienation, educational disadvantages, lack of mobility, and lack of educational opportunities than any other major school population segment. Okay? And just to give you an idea, let's think of a community that is about 650,000 strong, only the adults in the workforce, plus their families. So we are talking about many, many hardworking agricultural families in California. Migrant parents had usually the lowest levels of educational attainment of any occupational group. Large numbers of migrant students lack English language proficiency, even though most are US citizens, by the way, they were born here. And often they require remedial instruction. The graduation rates are very low. Migrant children have one of the highest dropout rates in the nation, about 60%. And other challenges include disproportionate attendance at the high-need schools, which means that usually the schools they attend are already under-resourced. There are large gaps in each instructional and assessment time, which means that that they are very often, they miss time because of the work of their parents or themselves. They are usually part of that agricultural work. Let's see, Cynthia.
I have a question. Are you sharing your PowerPoint with us?
Yes, I will share it in just a minute. I haven't done it.
Oh, in just a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't see it moving, so I wasn't sure.
Phone. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But what I want to do is just, apart from citing all these figures and all these situations that, by the way, describes a lot of deficits, but in fact, it's a very strong community like we want to see in a little bit. But let me show you the life of a migrant student in her own voice. This is a video that was put together some years ago, but I think it's very clear in what the conditions and the challenges that some of the students and their also their hopes and their strengths. So let's see if the technology is going to help me to put it together. Okay, let's see. We go here and then. Hopefully, how do we share the screen? You gotta help me here. I go to share screen. Up here? Mm-hmm. Okay.
There we go. Look, and you share.
Okay.
There.
And then I'm gonna put this one here. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, I'm not the most techy guy in the world, but I will try. Okay, let's do this. And let's see if we can hear. Can you guys see it? This is Irvine, California.
My name is Liliana Luis. I'm 14 years old. I see myself as a nice, gentle, environmental person with a big attitude and a nice personality. I have 6 sisters, 1 brother, and I'm second to the youngest. The same simple reason that you're barely talking with a boy, the neighbor's looking out the window, and then she's exaggerating, adding to the story. Now you're sitting on a slam. ¿Quién me peleé yo last year? Con una señora con una vaca. We're working in the fields with my mom. Sometimes she works in el chile or in el asador. My dad used to work in the field, but now he works in the camp. No, ya no hay. Por frente, ma. ¿Para dónde? Part of my check is given to my mom. Usually she pays the rent or she saves it.
When my older sisters, they were growing up, when they dropped out of school, they didn't thought nothing wrong of it because from the years before, you know, that's basically what was going on with all the migrant families.
The oldest kids were working all year round practically, you know, got their work permit, were out working, and that's pretty much what happened to me. I didn't decide to drop out of school. I finished 8th grade, had the graduation, and went back to work like the next day.
This one is like Aleida and Alma and Lorena. They graduated from 8th grade, but I had to take them out of the school so they can help me. But in that time, I had a different thinking. You know, I've been thinking that no better put it to work, make some money and save it. But I'm wrong that time. Like right now, I had a different thinking. It's more better send the kid to school all the way.
Home telephone number.
That way they can be prepared to find a better work, not in the field.
I'm going into the 9th grade. I feel very nervous, very curious what is going to be behind that door. And it's like everybody's going to call me freshman, this and that. And I'm sort of nervous because I'm not going to know nobody and I'll be just all alone there.
Diana, what's your last name?
He's not here yet.
L-U-I?
Can I give it to you and I'll be
Lopez Robert.
Okay, that can give you, let's see, we can go to new share right there. And I guess that's me now.
We talk to children who say they started working the field.
I'm gonna go this one here. Okay, there we go. Okay, well, still have something else. Okay, there you go. Now it's better. Okay, I'm assuming that we are still on the air. So that can give you an idea. Kids that are excited about their challenges. We have a 14-year-old at home, so we know if you see these young girl has the same aspirations, the same hopes, the same excitement about studying high school as our son here. But the conditions are very different, and the challenges are very different. So let's very quickly review what we know about migrant families. So, about 650,000 migrant farm workers in California. These are farm workers that start different migrant streams, and they move according to the crops. Usually start in the area of San Diego or in El Cajon, and they move up all the way. And very often they go beyond the state of California, and they work sometimes in Oregon, and often they end up in the state of Washington in the apple orchards. It's tough work, definitely tough work. The agricultural industry in California is about $54 billion strong. 48 of California farm workers are U.S. citizens, so permanent residents, which is a way of challenging some of the myths that are out there. Median income is very, very low. For a single worker, usually it's about $7,500 a year, with 61% of the families below the poverty level. The poverty level is about $12,500. Farm workers are 7 times more likely to have serious or even fatal work accidents, according to the National Agricultural Workers Survey 2005. And listen to this, this is very important. The average life expectancy of a migrant and seasonal farm worker is today, in 2018, 49 years of age. Okay, you can compare that to the average 78 years of age for most of us. Migrant families are among the highest impacted by ailments of different kinds, respiratory, reproductive, allergic, motion repetitive ailments. And the children, they struggle to achieve academically. 50 to 60% drop out before the 12th grade. They are impacted by high poverty, lower access to quality healthcare, housing, early education programs. The relocation really affects them a lot because they have to move to different schools in most cases. And that affects the opportunities to create strong friendships and healthy bonding with adults in the school system. Often they are isolated from peers because of that mobility. And many school structures that have to do with how the districts function are not flexible enough to address their needs. And of course, the language difference. Most of them, even though they were born in the US, their primary language is Spanish. And the opportunities for them to acquire English at the same time they expand their home language are very limited. Often they need to join the workforce at early age, like we saw in this short video that I just showed you. And that means diminished access to educational, cultural, recreational opportunities. So there are a lot of challenges. On the other hand, I want you to also focus on the tremendous strengths of these families. These are very hardworking families. And you have a picture up there actually of one of our high school graduations in our accelerated program here at Cal State Fullerton. And you can see a mom and a dad and their kids. Mom just had she earned a high school equivalency diploma. And very soon after that, the father earned his. And of course, the kids, seeing all that effort, started doing better in school. So, according to many authors and the experiences of yours truly and many others who work with migrant families, there are a lot of high respect and high appreciation for schooling and education among the families, because they know that education is the only way out of poverty and for social mobility and to better employment. Also, the idea of empowerment. These families see education as a way of empowering themselves and their children. And that's why they are the only opportunities in terms of education that are out there that are funded either by states or by local districts or by the federal government are usually overwhelmed with people that want to be participants of these programs. And I'm going to give you an idea that I've been sharing in many of my classes, in many of my presentations. and that the way we see these communities is in terms of empowerment. We not only serve this community or have an opportunity to serve the communities, but the idea is to also recognize and build upon the strength that the families already have, which of course keeps them forward, keeps them together, and gives them a lot of hope for the future. So you can see some ideas of the different models of addressing the needs or helping address the needs of the communities. This is a model of service in which, many of the resources are being offered today. But we also want to include the model of empowerment that starts with mobilizing to respecting the knowledge of these families already have and their hopes and aspirations for the future and the daily struggle to move forward. And I wanted to include some of the voices. You heard some of the voices of migrant students. These are the voices of migrant parents. These are the parents of migrant children who have organized themselves and have become active in their education of their children. Mrs. Nora, a mother of 3 young children, she shared with us, she said, I have grown as a person, as an active mom, and my self-esteem has increased, especially now that I have a child with special needs, and the services we fight for are very important. These are parents migrant parents have organized themselves to be part of a change in the community. Mr. Baraja, a long time and a lifetime farm worker, said that every time he goes home, he talks to his children, and the first question he has after coming back from 12, 14 hours of work in the fields is, how is your teacher talking to you? Are you learning? What do you learn today? And some of the same questions that we need to ask from teachers, we need to be involved all the time and always communicate with teachers. They need to know that we are here for them too. And I wanted to quote them just to show the high expectations that these agricultural workers have for the education of their children and how they want to see the schools that the kids attend and their teachers and their administrators as their main allies in improving their lives. And then another mom says, a young mother says, my main motivation to participate in a program such as this, which is a Migrant Education Program, are my children and my family. But I also do it for myself because I want them to follow my example of organizing and supporting education. That's why I am now studying to obtain my GED, which is a high school equivalency diploma, and get ready for my job training. In reality, we are the change. And I love to hear that from her because even though there are a huge amount of challenges in life for a farm worker family, there is also a pride. There is a pride on working the land and helping feed all of us and better opportunities for their kids. And then another mom that was part of this conversation, a farm worker herself, she said, in the migrant program, all parents have a common goal, to see our children as accomplished individuals. And in Spanish, he said, es que en la familia está nuestra fuerza, which we can translate as our family is our strength. So this sense of unity, a sense of community moving forward is one of the major strengths that you're going to find in farm worker families. And that's what motivates all of us to join their efforts for a better education. We have more, and I can share at some point. You can look at as this presentation is recorded. Please feel free to take a look at what these ideas they have in terms of improving the education of their children. Let's say one of them, and these are the teachers' voices, the teachers that work directly with migrant kids. He said, migrant parents, we need more communication with these migrant families. We need to be informed about PTA, parent council meetings, so we can communicate the information to migrant families. We have to plan more access for migrant families to need to provide transportation. Since many of the families in faraway areas, maybe it would be better to take activities where they live. These are teachers that have been working with the migrant community for a long time, and they understand their needs, they understand their strengths, and they want to be part of a movement to support educational improvement. Another teacher, Mr. Prado, I know they want to support their kids, and at times they just don't know how. to me, the main issue is to start earlier talking about expectations and provide specific services that are individual to each of their kids. And I want to mention that soon I'm going to jump into what services we got here, are being hosted here by our College of Education when it comes to the migrant family support. And I wanted to share some ideas in my work with migrant families. Now I've been working with migrant families for about 19 years in different capacities. And I feel really honored to have been accepted by this community as an educator, as someone that is also learning from their strengths. We'll talk a little bit about what empowerment is, but then these are some of the needs and some of the strengths that I think are important to know about migrant education. Migrant families try to establish an inclusive, balanced, and positive relationship with the schools that the children attend. Migrant families are an example of resiliency, possess a strong sense of hope for the better future, and an ongoing commitment to community and family values of solidarity and inner strength. Remember, without that solidarity, without that support within the families and among families, it's very hard to survive as a migrant worker. Because the salaries are so low, they are not even salaries, it's compensation per box of veggies that they are able to collect in the different crops. So they need that strength, they need that union, they need that solidarity in order to survive and with society's help to move forward for a better future for their children. Active migrant parents understand their advocacy efforts as critically ensuring that other migrant families receive the information to support their own children. So the parents that are active in the Migrant Education Program, for instance, understand that they not only do it for their children, they do it for other migrant families that are in the same situation and can use that information to improve their opportunities in life. They see themselves as organizing and educating agents for the migrant community at large. Migrant families believe that all teachers need to be aware of the pressures farm worker families endure, but also to recognize their family-based resilience and their hope in a better educational future for their children. So they don't want to be seen as needy. They want to see as strong families that they need support very often, but with that support, they're going to move forward on their own. So I identified some of the needs of the families in their own voices. They need their logistical support in transportation, translation, sometimes childcare, inclusive meeting by the schools that the kids attend. They want to strengthen procedures for identification of migrant children. Some of the families don't know that any services exist for their kids. And the sooner that schools and school districts and even universities help in these districts can help identify migrant children, the sooner that they're going to get services, support services that they need. They wanted to promote and support the local work of Migrant Education Program, particularly on areas of self-government, parent leadership development, and effective communication. A lot of these parents, with the help of the Migrant Education Program and even programs like us, our HEP program, are helping promoting leadership among these parents to become advocates, the best possible advocate for migrant children. People that are students, teachers that are supportive of these families and these communities want to facilitate strong partnership with community-based organizations that are working on housing, employment, immigration, counseling, and employment rights. So they can see each of these programs at the schools or community-based as opportunities for people to also find better employment and opportunities for training in jobs that can be connected to agriculture in better situations or in different areas of the economy. We also suggest the promoting of school liaisons as well as teachers and paraprofessionals that come from migrant backgrounds, because no one understands their needs and their strengths more than the migrant themselves. Now, what do we do at State Fullerton? And this is another big question. Now we have kind of an idea, an introduction to the life of farm worker families in California and their educational and socio-educational needs and economic needs. Well, we have a program which is called HEP. HEP is High School Equivalency Program. These are programs that were started many years ago, originally, not at Cal State Fullerton, which is new to us. We only started this program in 2015. This is our third year of success, working in a number of agricultural communities. But this original funding was started in 1965, a long time ago, as part of the War on Poverty. And our HEP program provides remedial education for adults older than 17 years old. They can be the farm workers themselves, which is most of the time the case, but they can also be their dependents. They could be people older than 17 years old that have been out of school, and we provide opportunities for instruction, which means high school equivalency diplomas, and also for what we call transition to college, which is an opportunity for the families of the students and the students themselves to be introduced to higher education. We provide counseling services, we provide childcare. Most of our students are, of course, adults with children, mainly females, women. Sometimes, most of the times they're mothers, some are grandmothers already, which creates a huge amount of sacrifice for these families to attend our classes. They are 3 times a week in their own communities. I'm going to see if I can explain a little more about the program with the following images. So, program status. When we put together this PowerPoint, we were entering our 3rd year of a 5-year grant. We have outreach and recruitment activities that were conducted throughout the summer. An instructional staff that is focusing on differentiated instruction, self-monitoring, and interdisciplinary approach. That means ways for adults to attend our classes. They come after working in the fields, 12, 14 hours sometimes, with pesticides, all that is included in their agricultural work. They come to us. We are based in their own communities. We have 6 active sites. They are all away from Cal State Fullerton campus. We have one in Mecca, another one in Thermal. This is in the Coachella Valley, a strong agricultural area, a lot of poverty there, but also very strong communities. In Ontario, in San Marcos, which is south, close to San Diego, and also in the same area, Fallbrook and Rainbow, 2 agricultural communities that are close to the 215 freeway. So we have our activities go straight into the community. We have our own instructors. They are usually recruited from local teachers or local education students. Some of them are credentialed already, have masters, and some are emerging educators. From the communities, we train them, and they teach adults 3 evenings a week. Sometimes they have extra meetings during the weekends to prepare them for the GED or the HiSET, High School Equivalency Diploma. We also provide support services, which include childcare, includes transportation very often, and also includes counseling services to support their work and to help them become even stronger students, even with the challenges and the life pressures. These people have families, and it's a whole family effort for them to be successful at this program. Now, these are the services that we offer as part of our Cal State Fullerton HEP program. We have access to campus-based cultural and educational activities and events. We recently had one this last weekend called University Day, in which we brought many of our students, all the ones that were available, and their families to campus to attend a number of workshops from engineering department, from the kinesiology department, our own education department, from nursing department, from counseling department. They had an extraordinary day of introduction to high school, to higher education. And the idea is to show them that after they finish their high school equivalency, there is still a whole lot to learn and a lot of career opportunities for them. We offer transition to college and career counseling and mentoring. which we do in a daily basis. And we provide GED or HiSET, same thing, classes in Spanish and ELL instruction and support. ELL is English Language Learning Support, which means that, yes, they are taking most of the instruction in Spanish unless they prefer English. But immediately they are guided into English learning classes at the college level in their own communities, which will help them or facilitate their entrance into higher education. We offer instruction and individualized tutoring. That means that the cohorts of students advance together, but we also provide support for individual students in particular areas where they may need, they face challenges. We had summer intensive campus-based instructional camps for students that are a little more advanced and want to move a little faster than the rest. But definitely they always graduate within a year, and usually way before that, sometimes within 5 or 6 months. And they enter the activities of our transition to college and career counseling and mentoring. We have also have extensive use of technology now. We do part of the instruction through Zoom, like we are using right now. And we also offer opportunities for counseling for their families and themselves over interactive technology. We have a lot of partners in the community that we have created over the last 3 years. And of course, we rely on them for a lot of support. Local adult schools are facilitating their classrooms very often. Local school districts also offer opportunities for recruitment of students and instructors. We also have a lot of community and faith-based organizations that are helping us recruit students, retain students, and connect families with additional services that they may need in the community. Let's see what else we have. And I want to show some of the images from our last graduation. These are all agricultural workers and their families who graduated from their HiSET or GED, which is high school equivalency. You can see them with their families, full of pride. Their graduation took place at Cal State Fullerton, of course. They look wonderful with the caps and gowns, and they are ready, full of energy for the transition to college and or their work training, either one. We also offer opportunities to connect with the military, if that's what they want. But these are the families, full of pride, full of appreciation for education, full of strength, full of resiliency, and full of love. This is one of our graduates. She was hugging her elderly parent, her father. Both had been agricultural workers all their lives. And our program, I'm proud to say, opened the doors of opportunity for them. You can see they decorated their caps. It says, si puedes soñarlo, puedes hacerlo, which means if you can dream it, you can accomplish it. This on our HEP graduation last summer.